Hi, my name is Levi.
I'm Patrick.
And this channel is called Levi and Patrick Went to the Movies, where we discuss a movie that we both love every single week. So please like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, because someday soon we'll be talking about a movie that you love. Today we are talking about Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds.
I have never read War of the Worlds. I've never heard the radio drama that I know my undergrad university put on, and somewhere else put it on too. My friend Mike talks about it all the time. And isn't there another movie? Isn't there like a 70s version?
There's a 50s version, which I actually just watched recently for the first time. Yeah, and I'm very excited to talk about the comparisons.
I've never seen the old one, so much for my comparison talk.
Well, we can compare our comparing, and it's like...
Way different.
Not really.
And Dakota Fanning's in it?
I've never read either. I remember they had those like very popular when we were younger, those hardcover classics, like the abridged.
The white ones with the red.
Yeah. And so I remember reading that, but I don't remember anything about it. I just know at one point a dude is in a boat in a river, and
the Hudson Ferry.
Yeah, so I guess maybe that's where they lifted it from.
More than likely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always wondered how much of this particular version is based on the book and how much is Spielberg's version. Like, does the book follow a dude and his daughter? I have no idea. Is it just tripods come out of the ground? I have no idea.
Well, after I watched the old movie, I read a synopsis of the book, because there are specific moments that are similar in both movies, and I was wondering if they were, well, they must have just been lifted from the source material.
Like what?
He does not have a daughter in the book. He has a wife, though. They're on tripods in the book. In the 1950s movie, they're using like magnetic rays to float. And I guess I was reading behind the scenes, apparently at the time when they were about to film it, some military guy was like, well, if they were on tripods, we could easily knock them over and defeat them. So they changed it for the 1950s movie to make it more whatever. And it ended up being kind of nice because it's more science fiction-y. Mm-hmm. You can see little glimpses of like...
Yeah. But I guess we've just seen so many spacecrafts flying and hovering about that when this came out and they were walking around on their three legs,
mm-hmm.
you know, just like 9 feet. It was like so cool. Just the way they almost like slither and they're huge.
Yeah, interestingly, they are very similar to the little tripod things in Minority Report when they're searching through the house.
Oh, the spiders?
Yeah, where it's like the legs are kind of back a little bit and they're triangle heads. So I wonder if there was some inspiration there. Very small thing. The book and the old movie are called The War of the Worlds, and this is just War of the Worlds. I know. Creative liberties. Jeez. Some things, though, that are similar, that I don't know if they're in the book, an idea only, but they're similar in the two movies, are when the snake eye thing comes into the basement. That happens in the old movie. They're in like a farmhouse, and the snake eye thing comes. And then the aliens come in after that. And they're even a similar moment where she like turns around and screams with the alien behind her is kind of similar to when Dakota Fanning turns around and screams because the eye is right there the second time it shows up. Another thing that's the same is
the Morgan Freeman voiceover.
There is a voiceover at the beginning. That's definitely from the book. Yeah. It opens with whatever. But like a mob attacks him, like pulls him out of his car. That's in both movies. The old movie, I'm just talking about the old movie. We'll get to the new one. The old one has... Whenever I watch older movies that are classics, I'm always surprised at how modern they feel, which is definitely... Well, they invented this stuff. Like War of the Worlds was one of the first really influential, huge sci-fi, like big-budget movies. Yeah. And so everything that follows kind of lifts from that, unintentionally or not, because that set the standard. And so I always think it's funny when, oh, that's just like a movie from today. How impressive those old folk who didn't know anything. It's like, well, no, they laid the groundwork for this. Anyway, the scene where they all realize the power has stopped. There's an amazing shot where this guy's like, oh, what time is it? Oh, my watch has stopped. And the other guy says, oh, I got the time. Mine stopped too. And the camera pulls back from these dudes as all of the crowd people are checking their watches, and you get the amazing shot of everyone realizing that things have stopped. And it's still effective now. But I also, in movies, I love scenes where characters slowly notice stuff and then the crowd does as the camera's moving. That's that always gets me every time. So I saw the movie in theaters.
Yeah, me too.
And I remember not being scared, not like horror movie scared, but it was like terrifying. Like the scale and the fact that they just can't escape. That's just constant. Anywhere they go, these things show up.
Yeah, to exterminate humanity.
Yeah.
Like,
and I remember feeling that sense of, ooh. And then afterwards, when we were driving back from the theater, there was something in the sky, right? And my friends were like, "Oh, it's a UFO. What is that? Blah blah blah." And I was like, "Oh, it's just a helicopter," because clearly it was.
just a western cloud.
It's moving fast against the current. But anyway, and then they chastised me a little bit. I'm like, "Oh, why would you ruin it?" So I think they were just playing, but I ruined it. They're very convincing actors. I didn't
Yeah, you did.
I didn't go through a really weird, awkward teenage phase, luckily.
Yeah.
But
A couple of them.
I did go through...
I remember your long hair when you were in the band.
I did go through a weird War of the Worlds style phase. In the movie, Tom Cruise is wearing a leather jacket with a hood. It's like the hood is over. And I bought a leather jacket, and I would always wear a hoodie underneath it. And I thought I was so cool. I even took senior pictures in that getup, which is funny because I didn't have a bike. I wasn't like a thrill seeker. I had no reason for a leather jacket. I don't even know if it kept me warm in the cold of Minnesota, but I thought I looked so cool.
I didn't unload carrier cruisers for you.
And also...
Well, you did look pretty cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. It's also funny that Tom Cruise is so ingrained as just this good guy action star, and in this movie he's supposed to be kind of like a working man, gruff, like not a very good father. And there's a part where he's like, "Robbie, get inside. Robbie!" And he does like the clap. I remember my sister, I never saw it myself, but her friend's dad would do that when he was mad. He would do the... I remember her saying it was so realistic of Tom Cruise's performance.
I don't know if I got it from Dad or somebody, but I've always, like, back of the hand, into the hand, but Tom Cruise, he goes like this. It's like he crosses his arms and does his palms together.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's an uncomfortable motion. Like, once your hands are crossed, what are you supposed to do with them? You go like this, you still got full control.
Yeah, so if you do need to hit somebody, boom! Like, you can land on a cool, dramatic, like,
Yeah.
this.
What's side?
But so it's like, I'm gonna hit you so hard, your head twists.
One of the things I love about this movie, kind of already touched on it a little bit, as compared to other sci-fi or alien movies, is this one's obviously a horror movie. I don't think of it like that. I think of it kind of like a sci-fi action, maybe a thriller in some ways, but I'm trying to think of other alien movies. Well, even like Independence Day. Like, what do the aliens want? Do we know if they're good or not? We gotta figure it out. And then, they are bad. They are here to destroy us. Like all the people waiting on the top of the skyscraper, and then it blows it up. Encounters of the Third...
Close Encounters.
Close. I was thinking Strange Encounters. Close Encounters of the Third...
It's probably pretty strange.
It was. Where in the end, the aliens just wanted communication. They didn't want to kill us, right? So we've seen a lot of different alien movies where, what do they want? Oh no, they are here to kill us. Whereas this one is literally in the voiceover right away. He's like, they regarded our planet with envious eyes and slowly but surely drew their plans against us. And then by the time it gets in there and we see that it is aliens, because the characters are trying to figure it out, but we know the aliens are here to destroy us.
Yeah, I would definitely say the way it's presented is supposed to make you creeped out. Because like Independence Day is more of an action disaster movie where the focus is on massive scale destruction, and it's supposed to be fun to watch. Like, oh man, look at all these monuments getting destroyed, which is cool for its own purposes. But this movie, it's like, no. This is how you would feel the stress and anxiety coming from if an alien invasion were to happen. We wouldn't just be cool guys with one-liners smoking cigars and we're going to go blow them up, America. It would be like, oh, we're all going to die, and this is horrifying.
Yeah, speaking of, like, how this feels weird, and it's supposed to, like, weird us out and scare us, that kind of horror as the situation comes to full term and then, like, continues to be aggressive the rest of the movie, right? There's that awesome shot of him coming in the room, flipping on the light, and it's not working. So he picks up the phone to check, no dial tone, and then he grabs his cell phone, little flip one, checks that, nothing, and then he checks his watch, and it's all one shot.
Yeah.
So it's like the progression of things not working, which is awesome.
It's one of those. It's a shot where he comes into the room, tests the light. It goes up to the just show the lights aren't working, and then comes back down to him and comes around close up of the phone, and even closer up on the watch. And in terms of cinematography and the camera operator, to making sure you get those things in focus, even though the depth of field is kind of changing. It's incredible. So it seems a simple shot, but I wonder how difficult it was to, like how many times they got to the end and the watch was just a little out of focus, and so they had to do the whole thing again.
Probably 6.
Yeah,
That's my guess.
War of the Worlds, like War of the Focus timing.
Anyway, so just about the beginning a little bit, and then we'll move forward. I love that it opens and ends with the voiceover, but also when it opens, we're seeing the microscopic organisms, and then it zooms out to a drop of water on a leaf, which turns into Earth in space. So then in the end, when the reveal comes out that it's the microscopic organisms that killed the aliens, is when it's going back. There's that branch of a tree, which is funny because it's autumn, it's fall, and then there's like a live bud growing on the branch of the tree, just the one. But we go into the organisms. So it's like the bookends of the movie for voiceover and for visuals are very nice. And they're both pertinent to the point, which is that humans have earned their right to live here, but the aliens have not, which is really cool. And that premise of this whole thing, of the book, I'm sure, is no matter what humans could have done to try and stop the aliens, we were going to fail. But it's the nature of life on Earth that lets life on Earth maintain dominance. It's kind of really cool.
It is cool. The book came out in 1898, I think, and I wonder if they were washing hands yet at the point. That story where the scientists was trying to convince surgeons to wash their hands, and they're like, get out of here with the soap. I wonder if this was washing hands propaganda.
Get out of here with that soap.
And also, too, it's if you didn't know anything about it, you didn't know that the germs is what killed the aliens, that first shot, just zooming out to Earth, you would just think it was a really cool kind of concept of, I don't know, just like we're pulling out into space. But I also
it's a drop of water on a leaf, and it fades.
But I love how it turns into Earth, and then Earth turns into the red light, right? The opening lines have to be from the book.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
At least.
Because they're from the old movie.
Paraphrased.
I know we try not to criticize the movies we love or point out plot holes, but this one, all the electronics and all the cars stop, and there's a really cool shot of a guy getting blown to ash, and his camera falls on the ground, and then they zoom in on the camera as it's filming what's happening. But that camera wouldn't be working.
The batteries weren't in it.
Yeah, maybe he changed the solenoid of the camera. Which, by the way, in movies when they do that, when it's like a specific car part solve, I always wonder if the writers actually know anything about cars or if they find a thing. Because I remember when I wrote a script when I was a kid, I was like, I wanted the solution to be sprinkles. Sprinkles on like a cake. Like that solves the cure for the drug. I don't know, it was an action movie. And I went into the kitchen, found sprinkles, and just picked one of the ingredients to be like, the ditrobiolide of the sprinkles causes the drug to break down or something. And like I just did that. And so I wonder if the writers of War of the Worlds, one of them wrote Jurassic Park, I wonder if they were just like parts of cars that don't need electricity or something, and then the solenoid came up on Google. They're like, cool. Did you try the solenoid? Yeah.
Yeah, and when the tripod's coming out of the ground and the car flips, hits another car, there's car alarms going off.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never noticed that.
Also, when they're standing around before the ground starts to crack where the lightning went down, in that center. Mm-hmm. And he's like, could it be the subway? There's no subway down there. What about the water main? There's nothing down there. And then after it starts cracking and they're all moving away, the white shot where the tripod's about to come up, there's a fire hydrant that's broken, spraying water everywhere.
So terrible movie.
Yeah, awful movie.
Yeah, jeez.
I know we touched on this, but just the setting up of his character. So the first time we see him, he's working, and then the guy's like, I need you to come back to work. Nobody's as good as you. And he's like, nope, can't. Sorry, got stuff to do. Yeah. So it's like,
the union, my hands are tied.
Oh, yeah, can't help you.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, so he's kind of a jerk, but also funny. And then the next shot is him whipping around in his nice car, and it's like, okay, cool. That establishment of character is kind of true to his character, but we haven't seen all the downsides yet, such as he gets home and he's late for his ex-wife and his children. They've been waiting for him, and he's like, what? I thought it was the wrong time. Like, whatever. Like, not a big deal. Not just the bachelorness of him, like, having that car engine on his table in the kitchen versus, like, not really having any food in his house. But how many times have his children come over since the divorce or whatever? Because they still share the same room, like, from when they were kids. Robbie's obviously not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
And, he kind of treats them like adults for the most part, where he's like, what's up? Give me a hug, swift kick in the teeth. And he's like, it's locked. Like, he's just still being himself. Once the mom is gone, his attempt to bond with Robbie is, let's go play baseball. Like, that's what dads and sons do, right?
Not my dad.
When, Dakota Fanning, she's like, what are we supposed to eat? I don't know. Order. I have to go to sleep. I work for a living. Like, fend for yourselves. Welcome to my bachelor pad. So we just see how much of not actually a father he is, which is...
Yeah, I've always thought that line where he says, I work for a living, it seemed kind of uncalled for and unrelated. Like, she's like 9. Yeah.
Where's your job?
Yeah, freeloader? What are you in 4th grade?
4th grade?
Yeah, I know. It's a hard word to say. Oh, speaking of the food, though, when he comes out and he, like, spits it out, he's like, what is this? She's like, hummus. He's like, I said food. What's funny is hummus isn't even gross. And also, I feel like it was around the time when maybe food diet type weird foods came about, you know, like gluten-free and whatever. I think that was starting to get in that time frame. But anyway, it's just funny to me that they specifically call it hummus, which is delicious.
Yeah.
You know, they should have picked something else, like
anything else vegan.
Yeah, sure. But also, too, around the same time, the movie Bewitched came out, and he makes a comment about, like, are you enjoying your hummus? Like, and the joke is that it's some foreign thing. It's like, it's just a good dip.
I'm not all up on the 15 years ago food cultures, alright? Can't help you.
What have we been doing here?
I was still living at home.
In Ireland?
Yes.
I love that shot, though, right after that, where he says, what do you mean Robbie's gone? Where'd he go? And she's like, I don't know. He got in your car and left. Yep.
There's so many good shots.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about some of them specifically, but there's so many... What are you doing?
You're pointing a lot.
There's so many shots in this movie that start somewhere and then move and follow to different points as the shot continues.
Yeah.
Like... where he's running, the one of them driving in the car later.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg is the king of moving somewhere and then landing on something else. And a little small example is when Robbie jumps up the ferry to help climb, the shot is on him, and then it swings around to Tom Cruise, and he's, like, smiling. And again, with, like, pulling focus and stuff, that's a fairly difficult shot, because it's like you got to have that in focus far away, and then as we're turning, we've got to make sure the focus lands so he is good. And so it just seems like a simple movement, but in actuality, when you're trying to do it, like, yeah, we got to get this right. And so kind of the idea of you could have easily just cut to a shot of Tom Cruise, but Steven Spielberg uses that that movement to kind of match emotion, or I guess reveal of emotion, doing more of a complex shot as opposed to just doing it the easy way to cut it.
So onto the weirdness of this whole thing before it starts. Obviously on the TV we see there's lightning storms and other like EMP stuff in other countries, which, okay, we don't get enough of it ever. So that's like the teaser to it. But then where he goes outside to find, like, Robbie took your car and left, goes outside to try to find him, like he's gonna find a car on this one street. Robbie's obviously gone. He gets out there and he's looking around. Everybody's standing there with their phones. So he's like, what? And he turns around to look. And so we see the big storm hovering over, like, the freeway. Mm-hmm. But it's almost silent. It's just like the clouds up there. Like, okay, that's weird. So he tells those other people we can see it better from the backyard. So he goes to the backyard to go look. Other people are out there, and then there's wind blowing. He's like, that's so weird. The wind's blowing toward the storm. She's like, oh yeah, oh, that is weird. Oh, that's enough weather for me.
Yeah.
But when the wind, there's a shot of like him and the other neighbors in their backyards with all their laundry blowing, and then the wind stops, and all the laundry stops moving.
Yes, and the camera moves down with the laundry to land down there. And also, they must have just had a ton of fans off screen to blow that and then turn them off. And so again, it seems like a simple shot, but so much work.
Yeah. So the progression of the silent storm with the wind blowing toward it, and then the wind goes away, and then the lightning starts. And so he and Dakota Fanning get scared and go inside, and he's like, well, lightning doesn't strike twice in the same, and then it goes again and again and again and again. We see that like past him out the window with the lightning going to the same spot. That's strange. So it's just strange thing upon strange thing. And then after that, yeah, is where the whole EMP shot where nothing's working. Obviously, we, the audience, know that it's aliens. We went to see an alien movie. So it's fun watching characters who don't know what's going on, figuring out what's going on.
I love how there are several moments, too, where she's outside, she's like, I want to go, and he's like, what, you don't like storms? And then it's like, and so they run up to the house. And he's like, it's kind of fun, isn't it? Like the 4th of July. And you're like, oh! And then they run inside the house. And then they get under the table together. Or, no, before that, then he's by the window, and he's like, oh, it's fine. And then he gets under the table with her. And so it's just like 3 separate moments of Tom Cruise just trying to be like, it's okay. Oh, it's not okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the other, I knew there was something else, when they're under the table where he's like, where's the thunder?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the strangeness.
Would there be thunder? Because
there was actual lightning.
But I just mean, what's the difference between actual lightning and then their manufactured lightning from their manufactured storm?
Well,
isn't it still displacing? Wouldn't it be? It would still have a sound, right? Because
it has the or whatever the sound it actually makes.
Right, but thunder is
the clap of air coming together after it's been disintegrated.
Right.
Yeah. So
wouldn't
maybe
that be
the aliens' lightning is probably more just like energy, light, etc. from whatever science fiction technology it is that puts them into the ground, into the machine. You know? Because you think about it, like, it's got to break a hole in the earth all the way down to the machine. It's not like teleporting them in there. But for actual lightning in a storm, there's so much of it and it's so powerful, whereas the aliens probably weren't thinking, we should make it look like a thunderstorm so that humans think it's normal. By the time they realize it's not, it's too late. It was just like, this is what we need to do to get into our machines. Because once we're in our machines, we're taking over the earth. Nothing can stop us. So I don't think they were trying to make it look like a storm. That part is just kind of a coincidence because of how the technology had to work.
Yeah, I can see your point. But I still feel like the laws of physics would have to apply.
Well, they do. But maybe the lightning from the technology that puts the aliens into the machine isn't the intense energy of actual lightning that vaporizes the air molecules for, like, I don't know, a mile, or how high up are clouds when lightning comes out and strikes the ground?
Well, planes fly at 35,000 feet to get above most normal
so it's about 5
weather.
miles.
But then clouds can exist in the layer of the atmosphere above that even.
Yeah, so like 5 to 8 miles.
Yeah.
That much lightning, you know, displaces a lot of air.
Hold on.
Not all lightning touches the ground.
Yeah, but does lightning that touches the ground, I don't think it comes from 5 miles up.
I don't know. I'm sure some of it does. It depends on the type of cloud. I am not a scientist. I'm just saying that the same lightning in an actual storm versus the lightning that appeared in the technology used to get the aliens into the ground is not the exact same type of energy. So it doesn't vaporize the same amount of air as quickly or something, etc. So that much air coming back together and creating thunder doesn't necessarily happen if the energy used to put the aliens in the ground doesn't vaporize the air like actual lightning.
So if I had if I had a lightning gun, I could shoot lightning from here to the airport. And when it was over, it wouldn't make a noise?
Depends on the intensity of the bolt of lightning.
Well, it has to be pretty intense if they're launching ships down to the ground and getting all the way down into Earth.
Yes, but my point is that it looks like lightning when they're launching those ships into the Earth. Doesn't mean it is the same energy that we know to be lightning from an actual storm. It's like if you get a really bright red flashlight with a single bulb, and you get a really bright red LED light with a whole bunch of little bulbs, then you get an actual laser. You point them in your eye, and you're like, and they all look red, but they're not the same thing.
No, I understand that. I get it. Yeah. I'm just saying the amount of force needed by these aliens to get down into the Earth and to launch their ships down in there has to be pretty powerful. And so I think that it would be relatively close to the same energy of a lightning storm.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
Part of the horror of the aliens is like, you know, it comes up out of the ground, and the first thing that it does is just starts vaporizing everyone, just wiping them out. That's part of the genius of the aliens' plan, is like, we'll wipe out as many as possible, and then stage 2 is harvesting the ones that remain so that we can spray their blood all over our crops, our plants, our ecosystem, whatever it is. And that's just absolutely horrifying.
Yeah.
You know? It's not just like, let's blow up their main cities so we can steal all their water for our own planet or some diabolical thing. It's like, we're just going to go take over their planet and destroy them.
Yeah. Yeah, and the second half of the movie gets a lot of criticism because they're in the farm, or they're in the basement for a while, and then there's like, he comes outside and it's all red or whatever. But I think that adds to like the really weirdness of the movie, where the first half is just pure terror of like, we need to escape, and the second half is more about like, this is what life would be like from here on out, which is we're trapped downstairs and there's like this crazy dude, and so that's like a separate kind of horror. But then also you come up and everything's just red, and it's like, this is Earth now, and it's like an uncomfortable feeling of it's a little bit later of an alien invasion type thing, even though it's only like a couple days. But the idea being is this is permanently now how it's going to be if the aliens hadn't died. Mm-hmm. And so you get a glimpse into, Also, that scene there's a great moment where the dude has the shotgun, he's going to shoot the aliens, Tom Cruise grabs it, and then they're like struggling, and Tom Cruise is like, right?
Yeah, silently.
Yeah. And then like the next scene, he goes in and kills him. And I always thought, well, he was about to lose there. Like, I get he wasn't fighting because it was whatever. But he was pretty confident that he'd be able to beat him up and kill him the next scene. And the dude had like a shovel. So I wonder what Tom Cruise's character's thought process was, in the sense of, well, I hope he doesn't swing that at me. Like, he was very confident he could kill this dude. And he does. But it's supposed to be that way. I think that Steven Spielberg had that scene first to show that, this isn't going to just be an easy fight. Because then when the door opens, it's just a close-up of Dakota Fanning blindfolded, and you don't see who it is walking around, and then she comes and looks, and it's her father on the step. I guess maybe no one watching it would think, Tom Cruise just died. However, it's presented, it adds more suspense seeing that scene with the rifle, where it's not just a foregone conclusion who's going to win this. So when he goes in that room and the door shuts, it's like, okay.
I love that she's singing the lullaby
to
herself during that. It's so good. Spielberg's use of long shots, and also like the progressions of things, that when it starts you don't realize something is starting that's going to have multiple steps to it. But also the way that he shows the scale. You know, a lot of movies have like, the faraway shot where you can see a bunch of stuff moving in it. It's like, the scale. But like, Spielberg somehow shows enough things with the scale to make you feel the scale when you see it. After the aliens are there, when Tom Cruise gets his family out and they go to steal that car from Manny, and then they drive away, we've seen enough people get vaporized. When they're driving away, we see more people, and then Manny get vaporized. And so they're driving, and then the tripod's destroying the tops of like 6 houses in a row, and the whole freeway gets upended, and that semi crashes into the top of several houses. And then in the same shot, boom, more houses blow up behind the car as the car's coming toward the camera that whole time with all that happening. Then there's the wide shot of like the freeway or the highway with all the cars and the people, because all the cars are stopped. So it's just full of cars and full of people. And then our protagonist vehicle comes out, swerving around some of them, and starts driving in the midst of all these cars and people. Then we get the close-up on the car with Dakota freaking out, them talking about like, no, Robbie, not like Europe. And the camera's like going around the car and stuff, and then coming back into the front. It's like all one shot for that part, which is a great shot.
Incredible editing.
Yeah. And then after that, we see another shot of them with like all the cars and stuff around them. So for that whole car scene that has the dialogue in it, we have seen how many cars and people are littered on this highway. And then we're in that car for an extended scene while they're driving through all these cars and people, and then we see all the cars and people again. So that whole time we're put into the world of the scale of how many people are displaced out of their vehicles around our protagonists driving in their vehicle. So it's just really well done.
Yeah. I also think part of it that adds is that you never get like the tripod's point of view. You know, there are like the shot where they see the tripod on the ferry and it's like painting back like this. It's like a little at a low angle, but it's definitely not up high as if you were in the ship. And so I think that adds to we're only ever getting the human's perspective of these massive things. That ferry scene, though, is such an incredible sequence. Just the trees moving, the birds. I love flocks of animals in movies.
Those birds' wings are moving so slow.
Yeah.
Each bird. It's kind of funny when you go and like just watch one bird. It doesn't look like it's flying. It only looks like they're flying when you're not watching them, and then you see all of them.
Yeah, who taught those birds how to act?
The CGI animator.
and then so you see the trees move, and then you get the shot of Tom Cruise and his son, and then they're looking back. Cut to the tripod is there, and so you don't see it like slowly rise up. It's just boom, there it is, and then
Watch it.
horn. And then everyone notices, and there is an incredible shot. Oh my gosh. It's like far away, like establishes the 3 tripods on the hill, and then it just moves down like this as you see all the people coming down the hill, and there's just so many of them, and they're so packed, and then it lands on Tom Cruise and his family in the front talking to the military. And it is like the depth of field makes it feels very close, like everything is pressed together. It doesn't feel like the tripods are way off in the distance and these people are way off in the distance. And so you get this almost 2D feel of just everything is just pressing up against you. And it's fantastic. And then like the kind of the choral music of seeing the whirlpool in the water, and then just a as it rises up and just the water coming off of the ship. We're done.
We're done. And then once they get out of the water, and then you see the shot of, there's like 9 different tripods, like 3 on the hill getting people, a couple in the water, and then some more like way over there. It's just like extermination.
Yeah, and the ferry scene, that's the first time you see that they're taking people. So you got these cars coming off of the ferry, and people are in the water, and then there's an amazing shot where it's underwater, and it rises up, and there's the propeller, and you're just like, oh, what's going on? And then suddenly, they're getting snapped up out of the water, and it's just it's chaos and horrifying, and you're going to drown, you're going to get chopped up by the blades, and the cars are going to pull you under, and then now you're getting taken by aliens. And I think it's funny, I'm not a very strong swimmer, so if that was me in the water and my daughter was on my back, we'd die. I'd drown. It's like, well, we tried.
Taking you with me.
Yeah.
When they're up on that hill, so 2 things. So right after the ferry scene, they're up on that hill, and then they're like, oh, get down, because one of the tripods is right there next to them. It's like, is that like a 90-story cliff that they're on the top of, and the tripod's over here? Because those things are tall, and it's like right there next to the hill that they're on. But hill's got a slope. It's got to be like a sheer drop-off where they're right up there and the tripod's over here, because you see these little characters with the big alien thing right next to the thing of land that they're standing on.
Interesting, yeah, and they just got out of the water.
It's kind of like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. It's like, there's got to be some sort of physical landscape thing going on that we are not privy to, because this is impossible.
Steven Spielberg, man.
He just needs to learn where the ground is. In that same scene right afterwards, because the aliens had been vaporizing the people, and you see their clothing like start to go up in the wind or whatever.
Yeah.
And so our characters are walking, and the clothes start coming out of the sky, from all the vaporized people. Which is funny that when they vaporize things, it only vaporizes the biological tissue and not their clothing.
Oh, real quick, that happens in the 1950s movie. They're vaporizing people or whatever, and the special effects are they just kind of like disappear. But there's 3 dudes at the beginning who go check out the ship, and then it's like, and then when it comes back, they're like, where were those 3 dudes? And you look, and on the ground, in the shape of their bodies, ash. So that's like a holdover, and
That is really cool.
yeah, it probably is in the original book.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the trees aren't moving. Where's the wind? How did all that clothing go up into the sky so it could rain down on our protagonists? The aliens like grab it and go like this. Why is that clothes coming out of the sky? I guess these laws of physics here. Probably why the aliens' ship's lightning doesn't have any thunder.
Did you even like the movie?
Yeah, I love this movie. I'm just saying. There's just things I noticed about it last time I watched. It was like, how?
Similarly, apparently it's just ripping on the movie, but when Dugo Fanning goes to use the restroom and she sees that body in the water, and then suddenly there's all those bodies. Incredible moment, but how'd they all die?
Yeah. They would have been vaporized.
Yeah.
Or the airplane crashed into the water. I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose. There could be any number of ways.
There could be any number of ways.
Maybe Harvey Dent hit one with a gun.
Harvey Dent hit one with a gun.
She died off screen.
She died off screen.
Hello?
That scene where Dakota Fanning is going to go pee. When the military shows up and drives by and Robbie's trying to go with them, right? So on Tom Cruise's character being a terrible dad, he's freaking out a lot and Dakota Fanning needs to calm down, so Robbie like calms her down. Tom Cruise is still freaking out. He doesn't know how to handle himself, let alone his children. His only thing is to go and find their mother. Like that's his goal now, is we got to get them back to their mom. She'll know what to do, you know, because I don't know what to do. So they go to her house. She's not there, obviously. Oh man, what an amazing scene. That night when the attack comes, when they're going into the boiler room or whatever to like escape, and then the next morning with that plane crash. Yeah, it's in Universal.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, they purchased a whole decommissioned plane and gutted it. I love that sequence where it's like high pitched shrieks, and they're like, "What is that?" And he's like, "I haven't heard that before." Yeah, so there's a plane just right outside. Yeah, real quick before I forget, the scene where Robbie wants to leave with the military and Dakota Fanning's yelling. She has a great line where she says, "Who's gonna take care of me if you leave?" Got right to the core of bad dad.
Yeah. That was... I got sidetracked. But that was what I was trying to lead to.
Oh.
He does love his kids. He just doesn't know how to dad. That line cuts to us because we see it cut to him. Because she's talking to Robbie and we just see him standing there watching and listening to that interaction. Obviously we see, even though he is a bad dad and he's kind of a jerk, he still loves his kids. Yeah. You know, he doesn't want to let Robbie go. But these other people are taking Dakota later. He loves his kids, even though he's kind of a crappy dude.
You know how much easier it would be to survive this type of situation if you didn't have kids?
Oh, yeah.
At any age.
Infinitely.
Yeah, I mean, you're like 55. Like, it's still better not have any children.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid you have a baby. The reason I don't have any children is in case aliens come up out of the ground and start vaporizing everybody. I'm gonna get married someday. I'm always like, "Hey, you wanna have kids?" But whoa.
Have you not seen Spielberg's War of the Worlds?
Trying to kill us?
The basement scene is fun. You know, it's like really intense, but also watching the aliens like look at like pictures of us and stuff, and like they're going through junk. It's like, the thing goes down there to make sure there's no life, so that the aliens can go in. But what were they actually looking for?
I don't know. They were just on break.
Yeah, they're just checking stuff out.
Because they get called back up.
They're just stretching their legs, having fun. Oh, this is one of my points. So we know what the aliens look like. We've seen them.
Yes.
They are also tripods.
Yeah.
They have the two main legs and then like the one little hopper leg in the back to keep them moving forward. And also they have like the Triceratops kind of skull, which is what the tripods look like. Later, when Tom Cruise and Dakota Fanning get put into those cages hanging off the bottom of the thing, you know, where they harvest people from, that like nipple looking thing. Well, it is.
Looks
like
like
the tentacle comes out. Yeah, the protruding rectum funnel thing comes out and grabs people and sucks them in. Where Tom Cruise deposits the grenades. What was that tentacle? It was actually an alien.
I just thought it was like a...
It's not a machine. It's biological.
Is it?
Yeah. The ones that come down in the water
right.
are obviously part of the tripod.
Yeah.
But that one that comes out, like, it's got little tentacles on it. It's red.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I just thought it was more of a less militarized version. Like whatever's up in there.
Maybe. It's possible. But also, when he's cutting at that eyeball thing that comes down into the basement, you know, there's like sparks. It's made of metal. It's a machine. Mm-hmm. And so the tentacle that comes out to grab people in isn't. And I'm like, so there's another type of alien that we don't get to see.
Well, the rectum thing is also fleshy, but I don't think that's the thing. So I think that the design of the inside of the ships is a little bit more fleshy. And so that thing that comes down, I don't think there's an alien who's like... they're moving around a lot. Hold on, I'll get one. You know, it's like just blindly reaching down.
They're moving around a lot. Hold on, I'll get one.
Yeah, you know. Ow! Jeez, Craig, you're up. No.
Yeah, that's valid. Well, it's just interesting that the aliens would create that part of the technology to be more fleshy instead of...
Well, I mean, it's like cloth versus metal, let's say. You know, you got a car that's hard on the outside, and then inside there's soft seats.
That's valid.
I like how you're fine with their magic lightning, but whoa, different materials, so the technology.
I wasn't saying there's something wrong with it. I was just saying there's another type of alien that we haven't seen. You know, it'd be like if we went to an alien planet and we brought our dogs, they would be like, what kind of human is that? They got these weird smaller humans that don't speak, have teeth.
Don't you think, though, that...
They would realize it's different? Well, that's what I just did. There's a different type of alien in there.
But contextually, it doesn't make sense.
Those aren't dogs. Those are machines. The humans just have really fleshy machines they brought with them.
No. You're like, oh, there's just an alien reaching down, grabbing things.
Yeah.
How he can't see out.
Well, he feels. It's a tentacle. Maybe it's got a little eyeball on the tip because it kind of looks around before it grabs one. I don't know.
What would be...
Alright, well, let's look. Oh, yeah. Biological.
I just feel that thousands of years ago, they put these ships in Earth, and then they got the technology to get pilots down there. They've got all these ray guns and stuff. And then when it comes to harvesting their humans, they just have a guy reach down and grab one. That doesn't make any sense. Also, what's funny, more plot hole, is it's like they put those ships in there, and Tim Robbins is like, yeah, they've had this plan for a while. They had those ships down there before they were even people. It's like, why did they just get Earth then?
Yeah.
You know, they showed up, built, buried thousands of machines across the globe, and packed up and left. It's like, why wouldn't they just stay?
They needed there to be enough humans for them to water all their plants with blood. But then there were so many humans, they had to kill 9/10 of them first.
Yeah. Also, what's interesting is if they need the blood to grow things, they obviously never encountered human blood, right? Because there'd be germs in there. So how'd they know? Uh-oh.
We better stop.
The shots are amazing. I will say that a lot of people, they consider that a plot hole. It's like, oh, the ships are down there and we would never notice. But I think the amount of time it takes for that thing to come up out of the ground, for all we know, it could have been like thousands of feet deep. Way below where we've ever dug. Yeah. I'm fine with that.
It just never melted because of all the magma in the mantle. But yeah, it is a good question. It's like, why'd they wait so long?
So the birds land on the ship, and he's like, look at the birds. That's how we know the shields are down.
No shields!
But you can get underneath them. Like, you could walk up and touch the tripod. Because one lands next to Tom Cruise, and then it bends out and picks him up. So the shields...
Maybe the shield is strong up here, and then it kind of tapers down to the feet. I don't know.
Their most vulnerable spot on the ground. They don't have protected.
Well, those aliens had never seen Empire Strikes Back. They don't know what we can do. Why didn't they try that?
Well, technically, the people in Empire Strikes Back are not on Earth. So even if they had seen it, they'd be like, I wouldn't have to worry.
It's sci-fi.
Yeah, that's... So that's over in the galaxy long ago, far away.
They don't have those snow speeders here on Earth.
We're off track. No, the main reason I love this movie, and the main reason that I like showing it to people, and I would recommend anyone to watch it, is because the feeling of it isn't just disaster movie. It's scary, realistic.
Yes.
The inescapability of this violence that's coming, and anywhere you go, it will find you. And then past that point, seeing how the Earth would be radically different. You know, I imagine to be similar to back in World War II, your country gets invaded, and then suddenly now there's soldiers from Germany, and this is your life. Like, it'll never go back to the way it was. And so this movie, it's got like two halves. The first half is the fear and terror of the immediacy of attack and violence, and then the second half is, this is what your world is going to be like now, and it sucks. so it's a very effective movie. It still holds up. The special effects are still great. The moments still land. Oh, sorry, one last thing. There's a line in The War of the Worlds 1953 where they say, whatever they attack, no more news comes out of that area. And that is in this movie. Mm-hmm. As always, if you like this movie, if you don't like it, if there's something about it that you think is interesting, comment. Let us know.
Yeah.
We like to hear any little thing. Even if you think the font is too militaristic, I would like to hear that.
Which you don't. Because it's not.
Yeah. In addition to commenting, please like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, because we put out new movies every week. And next week we'll be talking about... Oh no. Dennis Villeneuve. I don't know how to say his name.
Villeneuve?
Dennis French guy.
The Villain View.
Yeah, Dennis Villeneuve's Prisoners.
Yeah. We should just leave his name out of it. Next week we're doing Prisoners.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm Levi.
I'm Patrick.
And this has been Levi and Patrick Went to the Movies. Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds.
I gotta back up.
Yeah, they'll back it up.
Hey.